Welcome back to the podcast. Today we've got my buddy, second time on the show, Mark Struczewski, and he's Mr. Productivity. He's the one who really brings ideas and helps you get focused and get things done. And it was a wonderful having him on the podcast last time. Excited about our next conversation. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me back, Anthony. Glad to be here.
When we start looking at productivity, a lot of us are really frustrated and in a world that has lots of stuff coming at us and being able to get things done. I notice that sometimes I walk in my office, I've got a list of 6 things I want to get done. I leave the office with 8 things to get done. The 6 things I brought to the office didn't get done. And there's a sense of overwhelmingness. I noticed it both for myself and others in the world. So you're really trying to weed through this conversation and helping us get more productive. Where do we start?
I've been really passionate about talking about the power of one lately because there's something magical about the number 1. And when people look at their calendar and they go, oh my goodness, I have all these appointments, I have all these to-do lists, all these projects, and we get that tightening in our chest and we get overwhelmed and we start getting frustrated. Maybe we get angry. And they asked me, what can you help me with? What's a tip you got? And I said, just pick one thing. I know you have to do all 12 things. And I know they're all due by the end of the day today. But just pick one thing. One thing. And I encourage you to pick something small so you get a quick win. But so many people are getting so overwhelmed because they're looking at all they have to do instead of the next thing they need to do.
It's interesting. I one of the tactics that I always brought to the office, or just I learned to bring to the office, was I would come in to the office and having all these things in my brain. And they kind of felt like when they bounced around up there, they seemed bigger. When I stopped and wrote them down, right, and kind of created a list to work from, it seemed a little bit more reasonable, right? Now you're saying just pick one of them. It doesn't matter. Not necessarily the hardest one first. It's maybe the easiest one first, so you can get a quick win.
Yeah, and I think people are their own worst enemies because they are trying to do too much, and human beings can only do one thing at a time, but you bring up a very good point. When the brain sees that you have written it down or recorded it in an app, it can let it go. If it doesn't see that, your brain is trying to hold on to everything. And as you can imagine, your brain can't remember everything. So if you got an idea for a podcast episode, a YouTube video, a book, whatever, write it down, because then your brain can go, okay, I saw Anthony wrote this down. I'm going to let it go because it is secure in the fact that you recorded it. Don't trust your brain because your brain is powerful of a computer it does not have infinite memory, and we don't know at what point these important things are going to drop off. So instead of tempting fate, just write it down.
No, I get it. Like somehow or another, in writing it down, it takes the mind off of that, off guard a little bit. It kind of it lets you breathe out.
Your brain needs to take a deep breath. Your brain needs to, because your brain is always processing things, because you're always looking at things, you're always hearing things, so your brain is constantly processing. That's why one of the biggest tips I give people is what I call micro breaks, is to get away from your computer. Don't go from the big screen of the laptop to an even bigger screen, your television, or your smaller screen of your phone. Just go outside and just be present. Don't look at anything other than nature. Don't think about anything and just be present, because that allows your brain to go, okay, and sort everything, and then you'll be fine. But a lot of people are like pushing a rope. They're going throughout their day, go from task to task to task, and they wonder why they're getting frustrated. They're starting to feel not well physically and mentally because they're not taking the necessary breaks.
Well, since our last podcast, that was when I just loved, right? Just going outside and having kind of a real conscious moment with the exterior, right? Just taking a walk around and seeing things, like being present to seeing things, right? I just walking around the building and, just seeing the leaves and the grass and taking a moment where I'm conscious in outside of my office, just in the fresh air, taking a moment where I can see things and I'm not sitting there thinking about all the next thing I got to do, the next thing I got to do, the next thing I got to do, just being in the present moment. Like when I'm literally looking at the ground or looking at a tree or looking at leaves, I can't be anyplace else because when I'm really seeing it, it forces me to get present to that moment, right?
One of the things I've fallen in love with lately is what I'm a daily runner, and I like to run naked. That means without headphones, no podcast, no music, no audiobooks, just being present in nature during my run, hearing my feet hit the trail and hearing the birds tweet and hearing the wind blow through the trees. And when I see other people on the trail and I say good morning and they say good morning to me, well, I can actually hear them because I'm not wearing headphones. So I try to do that 4 or 5 times a week because there's something about going out for my run. I go at first light so I can take sunrise pictures, and not having anything in my ears is absolutely amazing and incredibly peaceful.
That's interesting. I'm almost the opposite. It feels like when I go out, I'm in the morning. If I don't find something to listen to, I get this. I don't know. My brain's processing stuff, right? And sometimes it's not always that kind. What about this? What about that guy? This guy's got to get this thing over here. And I got to move that over there. Oh, did you call that guy? What do you need to call this guy? My brain doesn't feel like in the morning. I don't know if it's looking for dinosaurs or some prehistoric hangover from when we were, prehistoric and now I feel like it's always looking for stuff to solve. And in the morning, I've been able to put like an Eddie Pinero on or something gentle and calming and maybe soothing that I can listen to. And it kind of shuts Fred in my head off for a little bit, right? It just gives me a moment of shutting him off. At least for me, I'm not quite sure why my brain processes that way in the morning.
My brain used to be that way until someone told me about this concept of running naked. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so boring not listening to anything. But the more I do it, the more I've come to enjoy it because my brain... It's amazing when I go for a run as a believer, I'm praying a lot on my runs. And it's just amazing how I'm just thanking God for the sunrise and that bird and, the ability. I woke up this morning, I have 2 legs to run. And I think we need to stop. So I just want to let you know that I started being a whining person. I hated, running without headphones, but like got these nice Beats headphones. But then when I started running without the headphones, it didn't take too long before my brain goes, oh, he's not putting the headphones on. We're just going to relax. We're going to go along for the ride and relax. So I encourage you to keep doing it. Maybe do it like once a week, maybe twice a week, and do it for like 30 or 60 days. And then come back and text me and say, hey, I did what you said. And it changed. It took a couple weeks and it changed.
Every time you're on, I walk away with a nugget. Last time I got to do the conscious walking, I thought that was a great practice to really bring me present. And it really did. After that, I could go back and get some stuff done. It's almost like taking a breath between ideas just gave me so much more energy later, when I didn't carry the energy from the past conversation to the next one. I'll try it on. I mean, look, it's something I always feel like that's the gift of podcasting is that I get to be with great idea makers that, bring me down a path I probably would have gone on before. So yeah, let's go. I'm in.
Well, don't make me wait. When you feel the difference, text me because you got my number. Text me and say, hey, I did it. Yay or nay. I'd really be interested to hear what your experiment turns out to be.
Look, I'm in. All over it. I will report back to you in the audience when we have this great break and kind of where that takes us and stuff to work on. So now, so you start the morning and you have this run that brings you some peace. And what does that allow for you to do next?
Well, let's go before my run. So I get up between 4:30 and 5 o'clock in the morning. And after I let the dogs out, who let the dogs out?
Who
I
let the dogs out?
So I let them out, and then I do a single proper push-up. And I got to emphasize, people go, just one? It's a proper push-up. It's none of this cheating like on my knees. It's like a full-on military push-up. I'm 59 years young. So I do that, and then I do what's known as squatting exercise. I read a great book called Built to Move, and it talks about as we get older, our hip flexors are not so flexible.
That's right.
And if you ever see a little kid squat, their butt almost hits the ground. Most adults like look at that and like, ain't no way going to happen. Well, I've been doing it for almost 300 days in a row. So I do that. Then I do farmer's carries for about 7 minutes in my house. When I'm done with that, I do something really bizarre for most people. It's called a reading walk. So we have a long hallway, and I will actually read books as I'm walking up and down the hallway. Then I go out into my backyard in my bare feet. I ground while I'm journaling for the day. Because the sunrise doesn't happen until about 6:45. First light's around 6:20. And I don't like to go out until first light. I mean, I carry a gun with me, but I don't want to tempt fate. So I wait until the sun to get a little lighter out. So maybe the crackheads are sleeping by then. And I do the run. I come back. I do a cold shower. And I live in Houston, Texas. So the summer cold showers are not really cold, but we're getting into cooler weather and it's mighty cold, but it just gets me jazzed up for the day.
No, look, the morning routine, I think, is one of the big game changers for me, right? Getting out of the nightly routine of spending 3 hours watching TV, moving that energy to morning energy, really was a huge game changer in my productivity life, right? It just kind of tuned me in to a day that's going to be of value, right? As opposed to waking up late and being tired because I binge watched junk food on TV. Being able to get up in the morning, have that practice, get myself tuned in to a spiritual way of being rather than I'm tired, I'm dragging myself. Oh my God, right. That like it wasn't very, very helpful. Even back then, I would listen to junk food in the morning, right? It was some sort of shock jock or some sort of stuff in the morning that was more junk food.
I get really annoyed when people come to me and they're like, well, I wish I could have a morning routine like yours, but it's just you and your wife and your dogs. It must be nice. And so recently I've been asking people, what time do your kids go to bed? Oh, 7 o'clock. What time do you go to bed? Midnight. Huh. What are you doing from 7 to midnight? Oh, watching the game. So how about you don't watch the game live? You watch it maybe on the weekend, you watch the replay, skip through the commercials, and then get up earlier in the morning. And they look at me like I have 3 heads. It's like you just told me you want a morning routine, but you don't have time in the morning, and you're watching 5 hours of sports at night. I'm like, I think we found the problem.
For sure it is. I was just in Italy. I just came back, and I was in Rome, and literally the Colosseum was built. So I went to Florence, and I took a day trip down to Rome, and I go down there, and I go to the Colosseum, and literally the Colosseum was built to distract humans, right? It was like, hey, look, if they're watching games and having fun, they won't rebel. Right? They'll think that me, the emperor, is a great guy, and they won't rebel because we're giving them fun and bread and games. And I feel like that's what is happening right now. I feel like there is this environment of shut up, pay your taxes, watch TV. Now you got people smoking dope and like, look, if we keep them numbed out enough, they'll just keep a low, steady tone. And maybe there's some gift in that numbness. I don't know. Look, to me, it seems like a life wasted. But part of what I'm looking for is to really create a life that's worth living. And if the 5 hours of TV every night becomes this numbing out of my existence, right? You might as well be stoned or drunk or whatever other high is out there. Getting rid of that and opening up that morning routine, being able to open up my life and my being to a way of, just a way of being that I get to be with humans in a much different way than I was before.
Social media is causing such a negative hit on productivity. I've got people I know they're near and dear to my heart, and they're always on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or whatever platform. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. So how much is Instagram paying you to endlessly scroll? They're like, what are you talking about? Well, I mean, you wouldn't spend 4 hours doing something you're not getting paid for it, right? And they're like, huh? And they don't get it. So I post on social media, I check my comment, and then I leave. I don't scroll because I'm not getting paid by these platforms. And a lot of people don't understand that social media is created like the Coliseum to distract you, to numb you. And you have a choice. Am I going to participate in this numbness, or am I going to say, no, I'm not going to participate in this game. I'm going to go read a book, or I'm going to go write a book, or I'm going to create some content that's going to serve people. And what happens is there's so many dopamine hits from when you are on social media that you become numbed out because, oh, just one more video, just one more video. How many times have you said to yourself, just one more? And it's 2 hours later.
You get me on that stuff. You get me on them, and believe me, I've messed up what I believe was a perfect reading habit of going to bed at 9 o'clock at night, reading for 30 minutes and getting at least 10 pages. And I have, in 2024, has been more messed up by my scrolling, picking up the phone and scrolling. And if I find myself going, all right, you're not going to do it, but it almost becomes this little addiction that happens. This last week, I was pretty good at reading. I really got back into my reading habits. But I'm not going to tell you this whole year wasn't that way. There was a lot of scrolling that happened. And what was a great practice of nightly focus? If I read 10 pages before I go to bed, one, it's a form of meditation for me, right? It gets my brain to think about one idea at a time, right? Being able to get my brain to think about one, focus on the black letters on the writing, on the book, on the pages. If I can focus on that, then it gives me a gift that when I go to bed, my brain slows down. Now, what I notice is when I don't do that and I scroll, I'll sleep for like an hour, but then I'll bounce back up again, or maybe 2 hours, I'll bounce back up, and I'm like, I can't go back to bed. And then I'll find myself going, no, maybe I should pick up the phone. Right? And then I'll scroll again, and it becomes like this thing that it's not really good. It feels like the brain gets trained to take the dopamine hits. Like it's almost like I'm in withdrawal when I don't have it.
Mm. So my bedtime routine, I stop watching television around 8:15. I go in my bedroom, I journal in a print journal. I don't use an app. In a print journal with a pen, old-fashioned pen on a journal. And then I read a print book for about 15 minutes. And then I pick up my Kindle. It's in dark mode. I turn off all the lights in my bedroom. And the print on the Kindle book is just light enough for me to see because I want my body to start calming down. But I've realized that there's some books I can't read before bed. Like I'm reading a book by Annie Jacobson. It's about Pentagon's brain. Is about the stuff about the history of DARPA. If I read a book like that before bed, then my brain is like, hey, that's pretty cool. Read a little more. And it does the opposite effect. So what I do is I try to read nice novels where my brain does not do a lot of thinking. That tells my body, okay, it's time to go to sleep. So I think people need to really pay attention to what stimulates you. Television, screens, social media, that stuff is going to stimulate you. So you're not going to go to sleep. You want to calm down before you go to bed. You don't want to be hyped up.
No, and that's what's great because when I read, it starts to slow the brain down, and I'll naturally fall asleep. I mean, I literally will get right to the end of those 10 pages, and my brain starts to. All right. Every once in a while, I'll be able to get another page out of me, or sometimes I won't get 10 pages. I only get 9 pages. Depends on what I'm reading. But look, those are the things that feel like great training for my ability to be present throughout the day, right? Mm-hmm. Like in what I think is happening in now period of time, in order to do great things, right? In order to do all these different companies and businesses that I work on, I need to be able to have focus on items. Right, I need to be present in the moment that I'm with the people that I'm with. that the brain in today's society with all the social media feels like it trains us not to be there, right? There's just so much coming at it. And I've been there. Look at it. By the way, I'm not going to tell you that I'm perfect now. I mean, there are definitely times I bring other, today I was dealing with something, somebody said something to me on a text that really had me upset. And I really noticed that before I did my first podcast this morning, I had to spend some time with Alyssa, like going, look, I need to detach from this idea because I can't carry that into my next conversation and be present for a podcast. And I had to do a little bit of working out. Her and I were talking through about, the idea of what was going on there. And it let me release the idea before I walked into the podcast. Because if not, I would have brought that into there. And I ask people all the time, how many times are you bringing the last meeting into this meeting, right? How many, if you don't take that separate break from the ideas from the previous work that you're doing, or the fight you had with your husband or your wife, or the dog that peed on the carpet, or whatever it is that you're dragging through your day, if I can't be there, I'm not going to get productive.
And that's why I tell people you've got to take that break. So before this interview, I was on lunch, and during lunch, I was watching a replay from a football game from about a week ago. And before that, I had an interview. So I do something that requires my full attention. Then I take a break. Now, the lunch break, I'm one of these people, I take an hour break because I've been up since 4:30 in the morning. I gift myself an hour for lunch. But sometimes breaks are like 5 minutes, sometimes they're 10 minutes. But I don't go from activity to activity to activity. For me, Mr. Productivity, I know that doesn't work. Now, listener, that may work for you. Mazel tov. If that works for you, truly works for you, then don't stop. But I want you to gift yourself the opportunity to go, is this working one thing after another without a break? Is it truly serving me? And I don't want you to do this passively. I want you to maybe get your favorite beverage, go on your back porch, and just be quiet for 30 minutes. Not 30 minutes scrolling on TikTok. Just be quiet for 30 minutes and just think about that question. Because most people, when they think about it, they go, you know what? It's really not serving me. What can I do to change it? But you've got to recognize there's a problem first before you turn around and make some changes. Don't just make changes because you're listening to this podcast. Make changes because you thought about your situation.
Well, I mean, figuring that out, right? All right, look, I want to get productive in life. What does that mean?
It means something different to everyone. For me, what it means is I teach a 3-step process. Your why feeds your goals, which feeds your plan. Now, what goes on your plan? Well, the activities that are going to help you achieve your goals.
All right, so go back. Say that one more time.
Your why.
Why? So just give me an example of that.
So before my parents passed away, my mom had Alzheimer's, and my why was to take care of my mom. So I came up with goals that would help me fulfill my why. My goals were income generation. Make money that I could help mom and dad. As you go through life, your why will change. Your why is not static. Your why will continue to change because let's say you're an entrepreneur of 4 kids. Well, eventually they're going to grow up and go out on their own. So your why will change. Maybe you take, like I did, take care of elderly parents. Well, then they pass away. Well, your why is no longer taking care of your parents because they're now passed on. So you need to have a strong why, and don't overthink the why. This is the number one thing I talk with my clients all about. Like, I'm not sure. Don't just pick a why. All right? Don't worry about it. One of my why right now is I want to make a lot of money so I can help a lot of people. It doesn't have to be, some worldly goal. It's not Anthony's why. It's not Mark's why. It's your why. So once you have your why, then you come up with activities that are goals, I should say. You're going to come up with goals that are going to help you achieve your why. And then from the goals, you think about what activities can I do that are going to help me meet my goals so I accomplish my why. And that's what goes on your plan. Does that make sense?
So the why is the vision of your future of what you want, right? It's the future me, the future, the part that pulls me into it. It's the vision. My why is the thing that pulls me into a vision of, look, I want to help others. I need more money to help my mom. I want to buy a car. I want to get an A on my test. This is my why, right? It's a vision that's pulling you there. Now the activities, the goals and activities. Wait, which was first, goals or activities?
Well, you have goals, and your activities come from the goals.
All right. So my goals are: I want to pass my test. I want to get an A on my algebra test, or I want to lose 200 pounds, whatever that is. Now my activities, I get to check and see what I'm doing. Is that in alignment with that goal? Right?
Correct.
Is the work I'm doing right now in alignment with that?
Correct. So your weight loss example, I want to lose 50 pounds. Okay. What do I have to do to lose 50 pounds? Well, maybe get rid of all the junk food in my house. Number one. Maybe go sign up for a gym. Number two. Number three, actually go to the gym. Number four, get a personal trainer. These are all activities you can do that as you work them, all of a sudden you've lost 1 pound, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 15 pounds. I don't teach people the hope and the prayer. It's very intentional. Your why, your goals, your activities, your plan. Work the plan as long as those activities are going to help you accomplish your goal. So if your goal is to lose 50 pounds, it shouldn't be to go get pizza every Saturday night. That's incongruent with your goal.
Right. Those activities do not line up. Now, I can tell you that there's certainly been times where I've made mistakes on my goals, right? I mean, and then I think that's the gift of having that vision of what you want. And then you're going to make mistakes. I mean, you're not going to get it perfect. I was just talking to someone about, I just came back, I came back from Italy, and I said, all right, yesterday was my first day back. I'm going to get myself on a diet. I'm going to go back to eating normally, eating good. And the first thing out of the morning, I went to the coffee pot, poured myself a cup of coffee, and my wife's mother made some amazing coffee cookies, and they're sitting right there. Right? I mean, I was at 30 minutes up from my getting up, and I already had 2 cookies, and I thought to myself, Then shame kicks in, right? Then the part of me is the shame kicks in. I'm like, oh man, that wasn't in alignment with what I just said. I'm going to eat good today, right? And all of a sudden, I noticed something about that was there. A little bit of what was going on with me was I still had withdrawals from the day before, right? There was a lot of the withdrawals from I was literally eating pasta and airplane food and all the stuff that happens when you travel, and just wasn't eating. There's still sugars coming out of my system. And that first morning, all right, I got it. I get drawn into it. Now, I'm not going to say that it was perfect because today I had a chicken parm, had some breading on it. And I'm like, all right, there's some sugar there. And there's some tomato sauce that probably had some sugar in it. All right, I got to be careful of that. But I know that at least when I have a vision of what I want, I can tell when I'm off.
It's interesting you brought up sugar because sugar is so addictive. I mean, I have a sugar belly. I'm not that much overweight, but I have a sugar belly because I like my sweets. And I read all the books I could find on sugar. One of the best books is Gary Taubes about the case against sugar. Our bodies do not need sugar. Zero. The problem is sugar's in like 95% of our food. So it's really difficult to get away from sugar. But just like sugar, social media is just as addictive. I gotta check. I actually deleted my TikTok and Facebook accounts. I mean,
how long did that last?
No, I don't mean I took it off the phone. I actually deleted my accounts.
But how long did that last? I mean, were you able to keep it off forever?
Yes, it's been, I don't know, about a month now. Well, I canceled it in October, and then you had to do the 30 days. Are you really sure you want to delete this account, Mark?
Yeah, look, I've relapsed on social media, and literally, I feel like a junkie. Like all of a sudden, I'll be like, all right, I took off Instagram because I found myself scrolling in the middle of the night. I found myself scrolling at these inappropriate times, and just bring this activity. And I take it completely off my phone. I'm like, all right, that's the way to do it. And then I'll be on the podcast. Someone will say to me, hey, did you check the numbers on the podcast or see something? Oh, did you see that we got these great comments or something will happen. And just like a junkie, cunning, baffling, and powerful will kick me right back in. All of a sudden, I'm back on Instagram. And I'm like, oh, it's just like a drug or alcohol relapse.
It is. That's why I didn't delete the app. I actually deleted my accounts. So if you go to TikTok, you won't find me. You go to Facebook, you won't find me. I almost deleted Instagram, but I'm going to sound, this is going to sound narcissistic to you, but I'm not addicted to social media. I can literally go post on Threads, go post on X, go post on Blue Sky, and I don't scroll. I just post and leave. And people go, how do you do that? I'm more disciplined, and I practice this thing called adulting. My phone doesn't control me. I control my phone. And so when people go, I can't stop, well, you can if you really wanted to. So I don't have notifications turned on. When I go in to post social media, I will post something on X, copy and paste it on Threads, copy and paste it on Blue Sky. That's it. And LinkedIn is always scheduled. And I mean, Snapchat, I don't really post things a lot on, but because I'm not getting paid for social media. I've never gotten a lead from social media. I get a lead from DMing people. And so I'm spending more time in DMs. And so I can actually be in Instagram's DMs and not check my feed. Most people can't do that. They feel that call. Let me just check. Well, you can if you really wanted to. You can. Is it easy? I'm not going to say it's easy, but I'm saying it is possible to have these apps on your phone and not check them if you want to.
Look, I'm an all or nothing junkie. There is no, I don't think, look, maybe it works for some people, right? But that's one of the reasons why I don't drink. I couldn't do it like just every once in a while. My wife could. She can have a glass of wine, put it down, no problem. I tried that game, and then I was like, well, look, it didn't work. I'm almost the belief. I haven't gotten there yet with social media, but Mark, it's heading that way. So I'm not going to tell you, in a world full of social media, digital world where I feel like you need that to be relevant in the future, where this is going, to be seen by the world, and to do the work you need to do in the business world. My concern.
Well, I got a suggestion for you. So I had a guest on my podcast recently, and he has screen time on his iPhone, and his wife has the passcode. So if he wants to check social media, she will unlock the phone for him, and he's got an agreement with her. He stays right there and said, I want to look at Instagram. She'll unlock it. He'll do his thing on Instagram, and then she locks the phone again. Because for the same reason why you just illustrated, he knows himself. If he takes that phone and walks in the other room, 6 hours later, he'll still be scrolling Instagram. So maybe you get your wife involved and say, hey, I want to turn screen time on.
Yeah. Look, getting those ideas and putting those principles into practice is key to where we're going. So let's talk a little bit more about some productivity steps and things that we can do to help people be more productive.
Well, first of all, I want people to take care of their mental and physical health. Because if you are not taking care of yourself mentally and physically, you can still be productive, but it's going to be a lot more challenging. So we're talking about getting quality sleep. We're talking spending time outdoors. I know it gets cold in the wintertime and hot in the summertime, and it gets rain showers, but spend time outside. I love going out my backyard and, taking my shirt off and sitting in the sun, my bare feet on the ground. But if that doesn't work for you, incorporate walks. You don't have to be like a full-on meditator, but maybe you just be quiet for 5 minutes. Most people can't be quiet and do nothing for a minute, let alone 5 minutes. But you've got to take care of yourself. You got to learn to when you reach a point that says, you know what, I'm not feeling right, to say, time out. I'm done for the day. And I've had situations like this where I told my wife, look, I'm not feeling good mentally right now. I'm not watching television tonight. You can watch television. I'm not watching television because I get overstimulated during the day and I just need to take some time off. Now, she goes to a real job. Apparently, I don't have a real job. So she goes to a real job. And so I have a lot of quiet time during the day. So I don't have any noise going on and take the dogs out and stuff like that. But I want to emphasize that people need to prioritize their mental and physical health, because that is a pivot point. That is a linchpin to you being productive.
Awesome. So getting yourself mentally ready to be productive is first key. Now let's start talking about next key. So to get to the next steps, right? Now let's get into, all right, I'm prepared mentally to be in a place of productivity.
The next thing is, I've been saying this for years, but tell your time where to go instead of wondering where it went. Here's what I mean by that. At the end of every day, you need to do two things. One, review your day that just was. You probably didn't get everything done today. That's okay. You recognize it. Then you look at tomorrow. Now, you probably already have things on your calendar tomorrow, and you have some gaps. Can you take the stuff you didn't get done today and put them on tomorrow? Maybe not. Maybe you have to go the next day or next week. But don't let those things just, go away. They're not going to go away. They still need to get done. And then if you still have room left, fill it with something. Reading, personal development, going for a walk, whatever. Because when you have nothing on your calendar, that's when people go to social media. I got 30 minutes on my calendar, nothing to do. They pick up their phone and endlessly scroll. So set yourself up for success and understand, I'm Mr. Productivity and I don't nail my schedule every day. You've got to give yourself grace and understand that some days you'll do great and some days you'll look back and like, man, I didn't get anything done. But you went through the exercise of doing it. And here's a bonus tip for people. Always tell your time where to go instead of wondering where it went, including weekends, holidays, and vacations. So if you're going to go to Disney World, do it intentionally. If you're going to go to your friend's house to watch the ball game, do it intentionally. Don't just do it. Say, tomorrow I'm going to watch the game at my friend's house. I'm going to get there an hour before the game, watch the game, and maybe come home an hour afterwards. Do it intentionally. People tend to be productive like during their job, but they don't think about carrying that into their personal lives. And I just want people to live intentionally.
Well, I think that's the key to being intentional, is being present. Like if I'm going to go to Disney World, be in Disney World. Like if I'm going to work. Right. It's like my thought is that all of us are so overwhelmed by so many different ideas. I can't be present in the place that I'm at. And people ask me, how do you get all this stuff done that you get done? I'm like, I got plenty of time, because when I'm there, right? I'm in the moment with the person I'm with. I get to be there completely. I detach from it. Now, every once in a while, I'll notice, like even when I do a podcast, I'll notice some other thought creeping in. And I'm like, no. You don't belong here. This is my time with the person I'm doing a podcast with. In the moment I'm there, I get to be there. Now, the thoughts and the brain will tell me, oh, no, you need to get that done. What about that? Something's going to happen if you don't call them back right now, or you forgot to call someone back. It always works out. If I'm where I'm supposed to be, if I stay where my feet are, if I keep my brain in the space that my feet are at, somehow or another, all the rest of it works out just fine.
Here is an analog tip for everyone that everyone can do. I have these index cards everywhere around the house. When the idea comes, I take one of these old-fashioned things called a pen, and I write the idea down. I don't go to Amazon and look for it. I don't go to Google and look for it. I write down enough words on this card. So later on, when I have the space, I'm like, oh, yeah, Anthony and I were talking about that. Why did I write that down? But we always feel like we have to go look at it right then. If I send you a text and I say, Anthony, check out this tweet, I don't mean right now. I mean, when you have time, you might find this tweet or this post or whatever interesting. But a lot of people, they get that text like, I got to check my phone. No, you don't. No, just relax. It's not important. What you're working on right now, that's important.
That's awesome. Listen, Mark, every time you come on the show, you bring these great ideas and help us become more productive. I love what you do, the work that you do with others. Talk about how, if someone wants to bring you into their life and help them become more productive, how do they get a hold of you and how do they bring you on as a coach to support them?
The best thing and the only thing I want people to do is go to my website, mrproductivity.com. Mr. is all spelled out, M-I-S-T-E-R, mrproductivity.com. Top of the homepage, it'll tell you what I want you to do. Once you get on a 20-minute call with me, it's my gift to you. Now, a little asterisk next to that. If you're not serious about taking your productivity from a 1 to a 2 or a 5 to a 7 or an 8 to a 9, don't waste my time. I'm looking for people who are serious about taking their productivity to the next level. If that is you, head on over to my website, mrproductivity.com. There's no special links or buttons to click. Well, when you go to the homepage, it tells you what to do. Click that button, sign up for a call. I'd love to have a conversation with you.
That's awesome. I love where you're at. Audience members, do that. I'll have all the links down below. Go take a look down below in the comments section. You can find links to Mark's website and how to get on there. And please do that now if you really want to get out there and try on what it means to be more productive. If you're feeling stuck and you're going, hey, I don't know how to get myself motivated to move forward, get with Mark, and he's going to show you how to build a future that's powerful and really helps you get things done. It's a lot of fun having you on, Mark. I love it. Second time I came out with another great one.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate being here.
You know, audience members, last week you guys broke 40,000 downloads, subscribers on YouTube. Excuse me. And I'm amazed by, 40,000 downloads of subscribers last week, and blew me away with the numbers. If you guys knew that, how many of you guys would listen to the podcast, but some of you guys weren't subscribers. I still notice that there's about 35% of you that are not subscribers to get to the end of a show. If you guys could just take a second and do that now, like and subscribe and do that for me now, it means a world of difference to Alyssa and Joe and myself and all the people that put the podcast on and getting great guests like Mark to come back. And really, you know, the numbers do make a difference in getting the great guests. So if you could do that now for me, I would be grateful. And as always, thanks for listening.